All right. So, Coffee with Clinic Sites. The premise of this series is going to be so often there's so many things within business when we're running a clinic where we have these moments where we know we're supposed to be doing something maybe a little bit better, but we don't have the expertise. We're not really sure how to execute on it. And so, what I want you to imagine with this series is if we're sitting down for coffee this morning, that you'd have this opportunity to be like, what am I supposed to do for social media? Like, I'm trying to run my practice. I'm dealing with patients all day. I'm trying to have a little bit of downtime. When do I actually manage social media? And later on, as we go throughout the next few weeks, we're going to talk about SEO. We're going to talk about increasing your website conversion. And the whole goal here is to try and give you really practical tips, practical strategies to find a way to do these things because we love this opportunity to grow our business, but sometimes it can be hard to actually really practically figure out how we're going to do that. And so let's dive into it to talk about how we're going to do that for social media today. Now, true to the premise of Coffee with Clinic Sites, we're going to try and keep today's session short and sweet. I know you probably have a patient coming soon to the waiting room. You got lots of things to do. So I'm going to try and really make this as concise as I can, but hopefully as helpful. Today, we're going to quickly talk about the state of social media for clinics, why this matters, why this conversation is relevant, and why it actually can help your business. I'm going to give you some really practical tips on what makes a great social media profile. Sometimes people think just setting it up is enough, but actually there's a little bit more to it to really make it fantastic. We're going to talk about a strategy for consistent professional posts to go up. What we really want to try and steer away from here is the sense of DIY or like, oh, you can tell this person doesn't really do this well, but we want it to really come across professionll. We're going to try to answer the question, what if I can't do this? Like this, I love a strategy, but I literally don't have time to pull this off. We're going to talk about what that option could be. And then we're also going to have some time for Q&A at the end. So as I'm talking through this today, obviously we won't have time to like interject with questions throughout, but I'm going to kind of go for about 20 minutes here talking through this. And then at the end, we'll have some time for questions and answers. So feel free to either keep those or put them into the chat as we're going. And then Kelty's going to help and jump on for that portion of the session as we go through a few of your questions. So with that, let's get started here. So talking about the state of social media today for clinics. I think there's this idea that maybe 15, 20 years ago, we were having this conversation about websites where there was still a little bit of a debate around whether or not my business needs a website. I've been operating for 30 years without a website. Why do I need one now? Obviously, we hit a place in the world where that became this moment of you need one. You need one because people are looking for you there. And I think why this conversation matters so much today is that it's happened where people are looking for you on social media, but also there's a generation who's now entering into adulthood who's just grown up knowing social media. And so we're going to talk for a second here about how they're actually using social media as a starting point when they're looking at your business. So social media has actually become a search engine. Two people are sitting down for coffee. One of them says, oh, my shoulder's really been hurting. The other says, well, I saw my physio and they're amazing. They're like, well, what's your physio's name? You know, back in the day, we might have just searched Google, and obviously many of us still do that. But sometimes they might actually pull out Instagram and be like, well, I'm going to look them up right now, or I'm going to look them up on Facebook. And that moment actually becomes the opportunity where they're trying to find you. And if they can't find you, they're actually hits a point where they're like, well, are they in business? Is it still happening? Because they're not where I maybe expected them to be. And so there's this moment where an active profile gives you proof of life. It's almost like it validates in that moment, like, yeah, they are operating. Sure enough, they're down the road. They maybe want to take a quick scroll through to see the types of things you talk about. They're trying to get a sense of whether or not it feels like the right fit. All those same things happen on your website, but they also can happen on social media as well. And so there really is this opportunity, specifically as maybe this generation, let's say anywhere from 15 to 30 or 40, is having that moment on their mobile phones looking for your business. Also, this idea too that a new follower today can become a patient tomorrow. Not everyone's looking to book right away, but maybe if someone's just, you know, like, again, I guess I love this theme of coffee, but they're sitting down, they're talking about it, they're saying, oh, my shoulder really hurt for the last few months, but I saw this physio. I'm like, oh, good to know. I'm often looking for a physio, not today, but I am looking for a physio. What they can do when they have that moment of looking you up on social media is actually say, well, I'm just going to follow you. And so now I don't need a physio today, But as I'm on there, as I'm on in my Instagram account, I'm regularly just seeing your posts. And so all of a sudden, when that moment hits that I am looking for one, you're the top of mind physio for me, or chiro, or acupuncturist, whatever it would be, where I'm actually looking and I've been following you and learning about you and building some trust in that you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about. And so all of a sudden, when it does come time, well, where else would I go except for that person that I've been following for the past few months? And so that's harder to do with a website, right? There's not necessarily subscriptions. I mean, we could be having a similar conversation about an email newsletter, but if you just have a website out there, it's hard to necessarily capture them where we can keep talking to them over time. And then finally, your patients become fans, as we see whenever you're great at what you do, eventually people just love talking about you, they love sharing about you, and those fans want to spread the word. And so there's been times where I've been raving about someone, or I've made a post to say, hey, this was amazing, but I go to tag them and there's nothing to tag. I have to like maybe write their address or put their website address or whatever, but I'd much rather just tag them in the channel that I'm on so that a friend can click on that and see it, or maybe they're at their appointment and they want to tag where they are. And so people want to talk about you, they want to spread the word. And so being active on social media really allows us to do that. And of course, it's not about just being active, it's about having a quality profile set up so that when they do tag you, there's this great first impression that happens from there. So from here, let's talk about some tips for setting up a great social media profile. What are some of the things you want to do so that that moment is actually engaging, quality, it's building trust, it's building a brand in that moment. The first thing is to be active across all major platforms. I think sometimes we can fall into a tunnel where we think, well, I just use Instagram. Why would I need anything else? Or maybe that's the one I'm just going to focus on because I think that's the only one me and my friends seem to use. But the reality is there's a generation that primarily uses Facebook. There's a whole bunch of the demographic that would primarily just use LinkedIn. There's a lot that would just use Instagram. And so we really want to make sure that you're available across all these platforms, because when I talk about that search moment, that can happen anywhere in any one of those platforms, depending on what they use. And we're going to look at today how it's actually not that hard. If you're active on one, it's not that hard to stay active on all. And so we're going to look at that in a second too. Second is to establish your brand. So this question differs the solution differs for each person, but often your clinic will have chosen a logo, you'll have chosen certain colors you use, maybe on your website you have consistent fonts you use. What we're trying to do is build like a cohesive experience here. Maybe you got stationery at your office where you have business cards or brochures or signage out front. And so what we want to do is make sure that experience is as consistent as possible, because it's often on a subconscious level that we establish looking at a color of a business and associating it. Obviously, we have examples like Coke out there. The minute you see something that's Coke with that logo in red, you know exactly what it is. There's a whole concept of that brand that's been established in your mind. There's a similar moment happening when people see your website and they see your storefront and they see your social media. We want to do as best we can to make sure they're consistent so that we're not having this moment for them where they saw your social media post, but now they showed up on their website and they're like, this doesn't look like the same. And now they have to question if they actually landed at the right spot. What we want it to do is just be cohesive across the board where everything's the same. And so we're going to look at that too in a second here about how we make sure that our posts are consistent and kind of establish that brand. Another one to do here, just worth mentioning, is to populate all your info. Make sure that within each one of those profiles that you filled in your website address. Those are great, valuable links to have back to your website. Fill in your hours if you can. Fill in your location information. All those pieces are these moments where when they land on one of these profiles, they might have a very basic question. It might be like, I looked you up on Instagram, but I just want to give you a call. And so, within Instagram, a business can put a phone number in there. So if you just make sure that's populated, just go through and take that extra minute to make sure all the necessary details are populated throughout your profile. And this last one is probably one of the most challenging, which is consistency. There's not really much win for you if you kind of go hard at this for the next few weeks, because maybe you come out of this webinar feeling extra inspired, but all of a sudden stop after that. And so 6 months later, everything's kind of gone away. And I think this is too often where we kind of see these posts up on, or these profiles up on social media that were maybe once managed and kind of just got left behind. What we're trying to do is show this activity, show this consistency, and try to eventually kind of really build that brand for you on social media. So how do we accomplish that? Let's look at that in a second too. What is our strategy for doing consistent professional posts? I have a few ideas here of how you can do this regularly. Now, stick with me for a minute. One of the things I really promoted about this webinar that I loved is how all of this can be free for you. The first I love is in this past year, we had ChatGPT using AI come onto the scene, which really changed the game as far as just the time consumption of creating posts. I could go into it. I won't go into too much detail about the value of putting blog posts up on your website and just keeping your website up to date, showing authority. All that stuff's really great. But what I love about a blog post, if you can do that even on a monthly basis, is how it allows you to actually share things on social media. So sometimes it can be hard to think, well, what am I going to talk about? And obviously there's a whole other webinar we could do about brainstorming social media content. But one thing that's great about ChatGPT is we can jump in there, give it a couple quick prompts, and actually have it provide us a blog post. You're going to review it. You're going to make sure that it says the right things. You might add in your own content there as well, or make some edits so that it really fits the message you want to get across. But it's a huge help in terms of actually getting us content. The second one is to use canva.com, which is just an incredible, beautiful design service where we can actually establish our brand in there, apply that to the different posts that we have, and right away get some great looking designs, which can be one of the greatest challenges we have. And then the third one I like is Sendible.com, which allows us to do this all in one go. So we're not having to like come back at this every week. I'm not asking you to put several hours into your calendar every single week right now. What I'm saying is once a month, do you think you could put this together where we get the post, we get some designs, and then we schedule them into Sendible, and right away we can send them out throughout the month, and we have this idea. So what I wanted to do here is just take a minute for an actual practical guide here, 1 minute. And I want to show you what this would look like. So we've got a ChatGPT account. Again, for those of you who aren't familiar, is a free tool that we can use. And I'm going to grab this here, and we're actually just going to put a prompt in. Now, I've pre-written this for the sake of time and said, I'm a chiropractor. I'm writing a blog for my website. The blog is about spinal health and how to keep your spine healthy. Can you please write a 500-word fact-based blog for me that includes a call to action to book an appointment with me? All we do is hit enter on this. We're going to get a blog written. It's going to say, here's your title. Here's the intro for it. Here's the paragraphs and the bullet points. Now, obviously, you're the expert. So when you get this written for you, for me, if this was about websites or social media, I would go through and make sure this sounded right. I'd probably pull out a few sentences, maybe add a couple of my own. But the idea here is I actually have some content that I can use. This is originally written content. They didn't pull this or copy and paste this from somewhere else on the internet. And now I can grab this and start using it. So I could take this and actually now kind of have some content for my website, but begin to use this for social media. What I can then do as a follow-up command for this is come in here and write, can you please highlight the 4 main points of this blog and write social media posts for each, including what type of image or graphic I should use and hashtags. And so here we go. It's going to write them and say, talk about mindful posture, talk about staying active, talk about lifting with caution, talk about the role of chiropractic care. It writes the caption for me. It includes the hashtags. And in like 10 seconds here, I've basically got a full blog, 4 different posts I can do. What I would do for this is then take this into Canva, come into here. I've got my Canva account ready to go. You can see here we've got some designs on the go already. Here we're pulling in Google reviews, but you can also look through this entire beautiful set of templates. Some of these are premium, so they are part of the paid plan of Canva, but lots of these are free. And so you can come and choose the one that fits right for you. And then once you've got your look and feel, like the kind of design that you wanted to choose, and you're like, that feels good, you can actually click right over here into brand, and I could pre-choose the Clinic Sites brand. It's going to apply my colors, my fonts, everything to that post. And so right away, I would just grab the copy from ChatGPT, paste it into each one of these. And then once I've got that, I go into Sendible and come in here and actually can schedule the post. I can have my accounts all hooked up with Facebook, Google My Business, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I can say, here's my caption, here's the post I did, schedule this for next Monday, the following Monday, the following Monday, whatever days you want to post to. And right away, in like, let's say maybe an hour, maybe two, maybe three, I've got my social media all done for the month. And now we accomplish all those different things we talked about earlier in terms of having an active social media account. Of course, we could dive into a lot more. I know I went probably quite fast for some of you. I apologize for that, but I just wanted to kind of give you this idea of how doable this all is now using some of these amazing free tools that are available to us. I do want to answer the question here for those of you who are kind of sitting here thinking, what if I can't do it? Like, what if that I just literally don't have the time? Or, you know what, you showed some things there that I know no matter how much training I got, that technically I just wouldn't be able to get there. Or maybe I wish I did, but my staff are already busy, or I don't want to hire for this. What are my solutions? And so what I did want to do quickly today is talk about something that Clinic Sites is introducing today called Social Plus, where we will actually go and do all of this for you. We'll generate a blog post each month. We'll create 4 different social posts for you. And what we actually do with those social posts is we actually also pull in your Google reviews and post one of those up each month. And then we also have like a call to action, but we'll establish your brand, your logo, your colors, all those good things. You'll be able to, with all of those, with the captions, with the blog post, jump in and make any edits or customizations if you want to. We'll offer you a dedicated team member to assist you on this, so you can kind of work with them if you want to make adjustments or talk to them about anything like that. We're happy to work with you. And then also, like I said, we'll customize all of this. One of the fun things I like to mention here, so for those of you who are familiar with Clinic Sites, but maybe don't have a website with us, this doesn't require a Clinic Sites website. So you actually could sign up for this service without having to build a website with us if you weren't interested. And all of this is being offered for $139 a month. We're really excited for the value we can bring for this. Again, when we think about kind of the time or staffing needed to generally do things like this, that we just feel there's huge value here. And I did just put on my email address there if you wanted to ask any questions or chat more about it, or if you're ready to go ahead, we would love to work with you.
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, there's always that big question about whether or not there's the right yeah, how do I accomplish this? How do I do this? And so we're hoping that that feels really practical. I do want to mention too, for anyone who's wondering about our website platform, I know lots of people came over to this webinar today from Jane. If you're not familiar, we do have a website platform that's just really simple to use, really straightforward. If you're a Jane customer, you actually get all these things on the left side I've mentioned here for $59 a month. Otherwise, the regular price is $79 a month, but it's a fully managed website platform. We pride ourselves on great support, just like Jane. If you want to try it out, you can spin up a website in just a minute at start.clinicsites.co. Also, you can head to clinicsites.co if you want to schedule some time with us and kind of see more about that. But we would love to chat with you more about that. We are going to jump to Q&A in 1 minute. So just a reminder that if you have questions, anything you want to talk about, feel free to drop those into the chat there. And then just in the meantime, while you do that, I just want to mention that we have a number of sessions coming up on April 5th. We're going to be talking about how to drive more Google reviews. There's such an incredible endorsement when people are looking for you to see a 5-star Google reviews on there. So how do we generate those, and how do we better utilize them when we get them? Then the following week, we're going to talk about increasing website conversions. How do we take more people from being visitors into patients? And then finally, the following week, we're going to talk about boosting your SEO and how do we show up better ranking for Google in a way that's not going to cost us thousands of dollars per month. If you want to register for any of those, and I know many of you are already, which is awesome, head to clinicsites.co/links. And I believe Kelty is dropping that into the chat for us as well. All right, so with that, why don't we open it up for questions? I think, again, the kind of system we'll have here is to drop them into the chat, and then we'll kind of read them through. Why don't I start with, and Kelty, if I'm missing any, let me know, but I'm going to start with his Sendable free. I do know Sendable has a paid account. So when we talk about free with that, one thing I didn't get into detail here is that with almost all social media accounts, I know Instagram and Facebook for sure, you can actually schedule those posts. So the free solution there for sure would be to just take the post directly from Canva, go to your Instagram account, whether it be on your phone or on your computer, and you can actually choose to schedule that post right from there. And so that would be the free one. I know that Sendable does have a paid version, but I don't have it in front of me this minute as to whether or not they do have a free option there. Anne has messaged with a direct one. Is there a contract length for Social Plus? I'd like to give it a try. That's awesome. So no, there's no contract. Everything Clinic Sites does is month to month. We want to we want you to be signed up for our service so long as you feel like you're getting value from it. Obviously, there's always discussions about like 12-month agreements or anything like that, but there's nothing anyone hates more than being locked into a contract if they're not feeling the value is there. So we want this to be a great fit. We want to make sure you're getting value from it. And so, yeah, everything we do is going to be on a month-to-month basis. Any other questions, Kelty?
No, that was it today.
Okay. Any special announcement about that if people
Oh,
didn't
there's
get
one
that?
that just came in. Any tips on engagement?
Say that again, sorry?
Any tips on engagement?
Oh, yeah, I think one of the best things to do is if you have, so that again, time is always a major question when you are trying to run your own business. But let's say you do have any time where you can spend a little bit of time going maybe around to other profiles, particularly if it's friendship groups, if you follow your patients on these different accounts, or maybe other local businesses. If you can get in there and actually just add comments, just say, a local organization is hosting an event, just say, hey, love what you guys are doing, proud to support you. Those types of moments get you noticed around the local area so that people are seeing like, well, who is this group? And they're just going to want to click too. Like they want to see who's commenting, because a lot of these platforms, their whole goal is to drive engagement. So they're trying to really promote commenting, they're encouraging people to comment. And so if you can get around there, that's one of my favorite tips, is just go comment, go like other posts. It's just a really great opportunity to get people noticing that your account is active. And so if you're trying to, it's truly, there's times where you can build it and they will come, but it's not a given. You really do have to kind of go out there to get people to come back. So make sure you're also promoting your social media profile, getting a link on your website, maybe putting something up on the front desk at your office to say, hey, make sure you're following us. This is a great opportunity there.
Our next question is, should the post across platforms be different or the same? I know Facebook and Instagram post together, but should the content be different?
There is definitely times where you want to specifically think about your demographic. I would argue with that question, you're kind of going to the next level, which is not a bad thing. If you're up for it, if you feel like you can kind of think through, okay, my Instagram followers might be this demographic, or this is kind of the right content for Instagram versus this is what I want to do for Facebook, by all means. What I really wanted to try to get through today was kind of a base level active social media profile. I would say if you're up for it, if you feel like you've got the time to start thinking through uniquely about each social media platform, then you can kind of say, okay, what could I do for each one? But I wouldn't put that as your baseline. Don't put that on yourself if you don't have capacity for that. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. We hope you got some value out of this today, and look forward to seeing many of you on our next few webinars in this series. Have a great day, everyone.